Hello, I'm Sky Matsuhashi, founder of SmartPokerStudy.com, the place for poker players who are always striving to be better today than they were yesterday. Poker people, in episode 102, I concluded my Steal MED by discussing some of the consequences of stealing more and how you can actually benefit from them. I also got into switching tables for better stealing and the 3 poker advantages. Hey, poker people, thanks for listening, for subscribing in iTunes or Stitcher or Google Play or SoundCloud. Thanks also for subscribing, of course, in YouTube and being a Weekly Boost subscriber. You guys are subscribing in every way possible, and I totally appreciate it. So I gotta mention it real quick because it's just been weighing on me heavily. But no spoilers, I promise right now. The Season 7 premiere of The Walking Dead was incredible. We all know what happened, so I won't get into the details, but that episode for me was really difficult to watch, you know? It was still a great episode. And that Negan, holy cow, he is one dude you don't want to mess with, you know? My hat's off to Jeffrey Dean Morgan, who plays Negan, because he is just outstanding. He's phenomenal. I've never liked a worse bad guy even more, except maybe for like Heath Ledger as the Joker, you know? And then Rick, of course, Andrew Lincoln, oh my god, he killed it in that episode. Just from all around, you know, everybody, great acting, a great story. I want to see where this is going, and I love what's happening right now, even though it is such a bummer. But I just hope the rest of the season kind of lives up to this premiere. This has been the best season premiere out of every season so far, and I just hope season 7 continues. And if you're not a Walking Dead fan, you are missing out. So get on it. If you got Netflix, you can start over with episode 1 right there. Well, enough of that stuff, so let's get to today's Q&A. It's a little early in the week for a Q&A, but I wanted to get these questions answered, so let's roll. Today, I am featuring 3 questions from some insanely cool poker peeps. Visit today's show notes at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod103 for links to everything I discussed today and to join the Weekly Boost for exclusive poker strategy delivered directly to your inbox every week.
And now for our feature presentation.
Alrighty, so the first question today comes from Mindy. She says, my question for you is about bet sizing. When I read about betting or hear people talking about betting, I hear 2 different kinds of talk. Sometimes people refer to their bet sizes in terms of the big blind. For example, I bet 3 big blinds. Other times, people refer to their bet size in terms of the pot. For example, I made a 1/2 pot bet. Are there situations that you want to think of it one way and other situations where you want to think of it a different way? I've been thinking in terms of big blinds when I'm betting pre-flop. Then I've been thinking of my bets in terms of the pot when it's post-flop. Is this kinda right? Thanks for your help and thanks for the podcast. Alrighty, well, that's an awesome question, Mindy. Thank you very much. And I see bet sizing pretty much the same way that you do. Pre-flop is in big blinds, and post-flop is in relation to the pot. And there are 2 reasons that I switch to thinking in terms of the pot in post-flop play. The first reason is break-even math is much more quick and easy to think about there. And it's really easy to remember some key numbers. When you make a half-pot bluff, your bet needs to work 33% of the time to be profitable, or at break-even. It needs to break even 33% of the time. 3/4 pot bets need to work 43%, and full pot size bets need to work 50%. When you know these 3, it allows you to estimate the break-even point for all the different bet sizes in between. And it's also good to know how often you have to be right to call these bet sizes. So, for example, calling a half-pot bet means you need 25% equity, means your call needs to win you the pot 25% of the time to break even. You need 30% equity to call a 3/4 pot-sized bet, and you need 33% equity to call a full pot-sized bet. And that equity percentage, like I just said, means that you need to win the pot that amount of time. So if you think he's bluffing and it's a half pot bet, you only need to be right 25% of the time. If you're calling a full pot size bet, you only need to be right 33% of the time. And so that first reason why I switched to pot sized thinking when it comes to post-flop play is the break-even math. The second reason is the stack-to-pot ratio, thinking about that number. So the smaller the ratio, the more likely you'll get it in at some point. At a 1-to-1 ratio on the flop, like there's $10 in the pot and the effective stack size is $10 behind, then you're going to get it in or you're going to be folding before the river. If the stack to pot ratio is at 10-to-1, like for example, $100 effective stacks with a $10 pot, there's there's got to be a whole lot of betting and raising to get the full stack in at some point. So that's why, thinking about in terms of the pot really helps in post-flop play. But also, post-flop, I'll think about big blinds when it comes to assessing what the pot size will be on the next street and the size of future bets that I think I'll end up facing. So, for example, let's say my opponent and we start with 100 big blind stacks, just full cash game stacks. There was a raise and I called the pre-flop. So now there's maybe 7 big blinds in the pot, with 97 big blinds behind. He bets 3.5 big blinds for half pot, and I call. Now there's 14 big blinds in the pot, with 93 big blinds behind. So knowing how big the pot is in big blinds and the stacks behind helps me to gauge the stack to pot ratio as we go, as we progress through the streets, and how likely we will get it in by the river. And also, when thinking about future bets, I use the opponent's bet sizing to estimate the bets that I'll face if I'm calling on a draw. So, for example, maybe he bet 3/4 pot on the flop, and in this instance, it's 5 big blinds with that example we took before from him raising and me calling. So, if he bets 3/4 pot, it's about 5 big blinds. Then the pot on the turn will be 17 big blinds once I call, 7 plus 5 plus 5, 17. He is likely to make maybe another 3/4 pot bet, which is roughly 13 big blinds. So before I make that call on the flop of 5 big blinds, I need to think to myself, do I want to call this 5 big blinds right now and face a 13 big blind bet on the turn? And if that's the case, I'll go ahead and make the call. But if the draw is very weak, like maybe something like a 6-high flush draw or the low end of an open ender, or even just a weak gut shot draw, then I might just fold even if the price is right. I'll do this because I think my opponent is aggressive and he's capable of double barreling, and the 3/4 pot on the flop means a 3/4 pot on the turn, most likely, of course. And then when I think about how many BBs that is, that can kind of sway me to a fold or a call right there. Alrighty, thank you again for that question, Mindy. So question 2 today comes from Kedaren, our old friend. He says, "Hey Sky, I would like to know your views on playing more than one variation of poker. For example, no limit and limit. Would this allow us to learn more about the game by exposing us to different views and ways to play the game, or is it detrimental? Thanks, Kedaren." Well, that's a great question, and thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So I'm completely down with playing different variations of all the games. You can learn and adapt plays from one variation to another, and there are lots of things from stud that you can take to no limit hold'em, for example, and lots of things that you can take from 5-card draw to stud, and so on and so forth. I think that every bit of poker learning that you're doing is actually very, very good. But I play different variants mainly for the fun of it. I caution against toggling back and forth too frequently in an attempt to learn poker better. If you're really interested in limit and no limit hold'em, then I would suggest something like playing and studying one variation for an extended amount of time, then switching to the other for an extended amount of time. So, for example, let's say you spend 3 weeks on no limit hold'em. All of your play, all of your study is centered around that game. And then maybe, for example, week 1 you're thinking about stealing, week 2 is c-betting, week 3 is 3-betting and no limit hold'em. Then, after you study that for 3 weeks straight, if you switch to limit hold'em, and then the first week study stealing, second week c-betting, third week 3-betting within limit hold'em, what you studied in no limit will probably help you in limit, and then what you learn as you're studying and playing in limit, that'll probably help you in the future when it comes back to no limit. So I just don't recommend going back and forth. Day 1 is no limit, day 2 is limit, day 3 is stud, day 4 is PLO. Don't do anything like that unless you're just looking to have fun. If you're looking to learn well and improve your game and work on your weaknesses and improve those skills, you've got to hit one specific variant for an extended amount of time. Alrighty, thanks again, Kedaren. Oh yeah, we've got our first sponsor. It's Habwin.com. Habwin, Habwin.com. Do you like online poker? What if you could win prizes at zero cost? With Habwin, you can play free, exclusive $100 free rolls on Party Poker and BWin. Check out our October Poker Fest. Every Sunday at 8 p.m. Central European Time, jump at the opportunity to win extra cash completely for free. Register now at www.habwin.com/OctoberPokerFest to start the fun. That's www.habwin.com/OctoberPokerFest. Now for a quick Patreon plug. I want your support on Patreon before October. 31st. If you do so, you'll get a podcast, a video, and a webinar all about exploiting your opponents. I'll discuss how you can look through your stats, really dissect an opponent's play, look for frequency issues, and figure out ways that you can sock it to them. Supporting at the $5 level will get you the podcast. The $15 level will get you the video, and the $50 level will get you the webinar. So with Patreon, your rewards are based on the level of your support. The more you support, the more you get. I've also got some big monthly goals. If you help me hit these, you'll hear more strategy content in the form of more questions answered, longer podcasts, or even more frequently scheduled podcasts. Hey, with your help, I might even be podcasting 5 full days a week. And that would be freaking difficult, but I'm down for it. So to learn more or to support me, please visit www.patreon.com/smartpokerstudy. And of course, John Blank, you are the man. You're very active in our Facebook group, and I really appreciate that, John. Everything that you say in helping other players, answering their questions, giving them your thoughts. You always say such killer stuff. I would hate to face you at the tables, and maybe I have. Maybe you've taken stack after stack off me. I don't know just yet, John, because I don't know the screen name you play with. But I really appreciate how you supported me on Patreon just like last week or so. You signed up to support me at the $5 level. Thank you very much, John. I really appreciate you, my man. I also have a quick shout out for David O for purchasing Poker Tracker 4 through my link. Thank you very much, David. I totally appreciate it. For everyone else, Poker Tracker 4, you can get it through me, www.smartpokerstudy.com/pokertracker4 with the number 4 at the end right there. Okay, and the final question today comes from Alene. Hi, Sky. I've been studying poker math, counting outs, calculating pot odds, and implied odds, etc. I know I have much to learn, but one concept keeps bothering me. One thing that confuses me is the assumption that all of the outs are possible. This seems flawed. In a full ring live game, 9 players, each player has received 2 cards, removing 18 cards from the deck. How can the calculations based on outs be close to accurate with so many cards gone? Thanks, Alene. Alrighty, well, I appreciate that question, Alene. Thank you very much. And when you think about your outs, you're not counting the physical cards still in the deck, and not the ones that are dealt to players or burned or are part of the board either. You're counting the ranks and the suits of the cards you don't know about yet. So let's say you had a flush draw only with maybe you had 200 cards to the board. No straight draw, and you don't think a pair would help you. Something like 6-5 of hearts on an ace-king-queen 2-heart board, You only have 9 outs for the flush in this instance. If it's a full ring game, then after the flop is dealt, there are still 30 cards left in the deck. And that's 18 being dealt, 1 burn, 3 flop cards being removed out of the 52 card deck. And this number of 30 cards remaining, 30 physical cards remaining in the dealer's hand, that doesn't really help you because you don't know what was dealt to the other players or burned on the flop. But you have seen and can definitely account for 5 cards, which are your 2 cards and the 3 on the board. So with a 52 card deck, there are still 47 other ranks and suits that you don't know about yet. And so the next card on the turn can be any one of those 47. So there are 9 hearts that can make your flush. So your odds of hitting it on the next card are 9 out of 47, or about 19.1%. If you miss your heart, then on the river, you've still got 9 outs out of 46 cards remaining, and that gives you a chance of 9 divided by 46, or about 19.5% chance of hitting. So your total chance of hitting the heart on the turn or the river is about 38.6% total. And if you just think about the 4-2 rule, it's pretty accurate here. With the 9 outs on the flop, 4-2 says we have about 36% chance of hitting it by the river, and on the turn we have about 18% chance of hitting it on the river. So I think the 4-2 rule definitely it's a very good estimation of your odds of hitting a hand. And with poker being a game of imperfect information, I really think that we've got to do it this way. To me, it makes logical sense, and it seems like statistically accurate, I don't know how we could calculate outs and odds with 30 cards remaining within the dealer's hand, not knowing any of the cards that were thrown away. It seems to me that we don't know which ranks and suits are still available in the physical deck. So thinking about 30 cards when there's 47 cards we don't know about, I just don't know how that math would work out like that. So this is how we do it. Because it's a game of imperfect information in the first place, this is the best way that we have to do it, Alene, I believe. So thanks again for that question, Alene. And thank you so much for listening, and thanks again to Mindy, Kedaren, and Alene for the questions featured today. I hope that my answers boost your poker skills. If you're not already there, head over to the show notes page for everything discussed today at www.smartpokerstudy.com/pod103. And while you're there, make sure you sign up for that weekly boost for all those extra goodies that I send out every single week. And I love feedback and your questions. I want to do more Q&A, so keep on sending them in. You can send them in via email to sky@smartpokerstudy.com. You can actually put them in the Facebook group as well at smartpokerstudy.com/discuss. Alrighty, poker people. Coming up later this week will be the first episode in an epic 3 or 4-parter on MED number 3, which is 3-betting yin-yang, or maybe the yin and yang of 3-betting, or the yin-yang of 3-betting. I'm not sure. I haven't settled on a name for the series just yet, but it's going to be all about 3-betting, of course. And y'all know that word of mouth is the best advertising, so please keep spreading the word. Let's do some growing, poker people. Send your friends to the show notes page to get them started on all that this podcast has to offer. And of course, I want to thank Habwin, our show sponsor today. Check out their October Poker Fest by visiting www.habwin.com/OctoberPokerFest. Register and start your free roll fun. Help support me by checking them out, y'all. Until next time, study smart, play much, and make your next session the best one yet.